Peace family, this is Ayapo, and this is Ayapo Yapa. Ayapo Yapa is, of course, an acronym that stands for if you aren't pissed off, you aren't paying attention. Whereas my future mother in law likes to say, if you ain't pissed off, you ain't paying attention. Both of them work. So, it's been an interesting month. It's a sad thing to hear about all the, about the shootings in Texas and then, here in Ohio. And then you have all these different, I guess, foil plots for mass shootings. It's a terrible time. But I will say, after coming back from Costa Rica, I know that when we came back, we just got back on the 2nd of this month. It's August right now. And when we came back, I literally was like, I do not want to go back. And there are some who say, well, oh, you wanted to stay a little longer? No, I didn't say I wanted to stay longer. I said I do not want to go back. I don't mean back to Costa Rica. I mean back here. I was like, I did not want to come back here. We went from being on the beach, and here's some images from it. There's Angela there, playing around the water, and the images actually do it no justice. It was just absolutely beautiful and calming the entire time we were there. We were there almost 3 weeks. About three or 4 days short of 3 weeks. And it was just beautiful, and it was calming. And then we get off the plane and we walk up into this.
Oh! They're shooting! They're shooting! Somebody's shooting! Down! Get your ass down! What?
Shoot. After when I was hearing about that, I was like, shoot, put me back on the plane and send me back. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But it all goes in line with my whole feeling of separating. And actually that's mainly what I'm going to talk about today. I want to really talk about the stance of my channel, the editorial slant of my channel. I'm about separating. What I'm starting to realize, it took me a minute, but what I'm starting to realize is these aren't necessarily always cases of this person's right or this person's wrong or whatever. It really is more a matter of, this is my worldview, this is my opinion, and that's what I think. We have those of our people who feel that this system can be worked with, that this system can be changed, that this system can be fixed. The system's not broken, by the way. It works exactly the way it's designed to work. But that's kind of a different discussion. And then there are those like me who are like, this system cannot be fixed, it can't be salvaged, it can't be worked with, it can't be worked within, and so on and so forth. I get a lot, or I hear a lot of condescending comments about people like me who believe that black people should and can separate. But I think that there are some misconceptions about what we believe about separations. Yes, there are those of us who are, believe in separating and going back to Africa or the motherland or whatever. But separating doesn't necessarily mean that you're trying to go back to Africa and all these different things. It can be that as a component of it, but it doesn't by necessity include having to go back to Africa. When I talk about separating, I'm talking about psychologically removing yourself from this system. I did an entire video on separating. I did an entire share on that, and I'll put the link at the bottom, or the lab, as I like to call it. But I think it bears repeating. It's worth repeating. Is that if you look at it in terms of an abusive relationship. Now, if you're talking to someone who is in an abusive relationship, and typically it's going to be a woman, it can be men sometimes. But if you're talking to someone who's in an abusive relationship, or in a job situation that's abusive, right? Let's stick with the abusive relationship, where they're being beat and so on, beat, cheated on, and everything else. And say this has been happening over a course of years and years. These people have, the people have proven that they have no intention of ever changing what they're doing as far as the abuser. What advice would you give to that person? What advice would you give to that woman? Would you say, well, honey, you just stay with her because you can't find anything better, or you just stay with her because where you could go could be worse? No, you would say you need to get the hell out of this situation. That doesn't mean you need to kill him. That doesn't mean you need to have a physical confrontation with him. But it does mean that you need to figure out how to get out of that situation. And as your friend, I will help you to figure out how to get out of this situation. Now, if you're advising someone that's in a situation like that, and you in any way leave out as a component of rectifying the situation, you leave out getting away from that person, then shame on you. Shame on you. And that's kind of how I feel about any of our people that are constantly trying to tell our people, well, you know what, people, you can't get away from them, you can't escape them. Even if you do, you could be going into a worse situation. You don't know what you're doing. You're stepping into the unknown. That is tantamount to telling someone who's in an abusive relationship and they're getting their ass beat constantly, to the point that they're probably going to end up dead someday, that they need to just go on and stay in the situation and stick it out. That's what you're saying to us. But I do understand that some of us are true believers, and when I say true believers, we believe this system can actually be changed. I do not, and I had to learn that. There's a when it comes to like getting out of the situation. I think of the movie. You maybe haven't seen it. The movie Lost in Space. There's a scene where the ship is out of control and is heading toward the sun. And the pilot makes the suggestion, we can create a wormhole and go through. The scientists who built the ship say, yeah, but the navigation is all messed up. We could end up any place. And the pilot says something very important. He says, yeah, any place but here. His point was, yeah, we could end up any place. We could end up someplace better. We could end up someplace infinitely worse. But we know that if we stay here, we're going to die. The other two are maybe. Maybe. But we know that if we stay here, we're going to die. And so that's my point, is this the system that we're in was constructed to hold us down. There are many people who will argue this, especially white people. Some people say pink people, Caucasian, however you want to say it for the sake of the conversation. I just use the term white. There are white people who will say, no, this system isn't designed specifically to hold you down. That's just an excuse you use and whatever. excuse me, the problem is that this system cannot work without black people being on the bottom. See, black people can become successful without white people having to go to the bottom. But white people cannot be successful without black people at the bottom. We have to be at the bottom in order for them to be successful. That's the design of the system. The system was built on slave labor, or the enslavement of other people, the exploitation of other people. The system was built on that. And just like the old saying goes, what it took to get them is what you have to do to keep them. What it took to get this system running and established is going to it takes for it to keep working. So basically, when we're saying we want equality, we want you to let us into these spaces, we want a level playing field and all this difference, you're basically asking a people to cut themselves off at the legs. You're asking a people to put themselves at a disadvantage so that you can rise above. Why would they do that? Why would I put myself in a situation where I know that it's going to cause me to topple downward so that I can help to lift you up? Who's going to do that? You think that you think just because it's the right thing to do that they would do that? Think about it like, another thing. When you enter into this discussion about the fact that this society is built, against us, and that there really aren't any political solutions or societal solutions, and so quickly there will always be someone to point out, well, you got the civil rights movement, you got the Fair Housing Act, you have the da 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 da. Again, that's talking to the person who's being abused, and they're saying, well, they said they after they beat me up, they said they were sorry. They brought me flowers. They cooked dinner for me. They took me out to dinner. He bought me a new car. And he said, I'm sorry. And then 2 days later, commenced back to beating my ass. And see, anything that's put in place for us, you have to go deeper into what's happening. Anything that's put in place for us always ends up having something that's either in the law or just by changes or slow societal changes that makes it so that it pretty much nullifies that. In other words, enslaved Africans were emancipated. So what did they do? They came up with all these different little laws or different tactics to re-enslave us. Sharecropping, convict leasing. If you go to jail, then if you're put in prison, then you can be forced to work and not be paid for it. So they figured out a way to, okay, we gave them this so that they can look this way, but now let's go back under here and find a way to actually make it so that it's back in place. Ooh, they got affirmative action. And who benefited? White women. And now because of LGBTQ, white men can take advantage of affirmative action. Pull that right out from under us. There's always something that's going to make it so that whatever we supposedly get is always nullified. Or even if it's a quote unquote straight out victory. Well, this cop got convicted of this crime, of gunning down a black person, or the police officer just happened that choked out Eric Gardner, Gardner. He got kicked off before. He's just gonna get hired someplace else. Oh my God. Well, he brought me flowers and said he was sorry. And so, what are you gonna say? Oh well, since they did that, maybe he is changing. So you should just stay with him. Shame on you if you give that kind of advice. Shame on you if you say that to our people. No, I don't have all the answers. I don't think anybody has all the answers. But in terms of getting out of this system, and separating from it, I always say first mentally. Because it immediately it seems that when you start talking about separating, people automatically go to, that means a physical separation. That's impossible. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But my point still remains that if I'm on Earth, and no, if my fiance is on Earth, and I go to Pluto to get away from her, but I'm still like thinking about her every day, and I'm still conducting my life based upon her and all this, I may as well be with her. Because that physical distance doesn't mean anything if I'm still with her in here. That doesn't matter. And by that same token, we could be sitting together on this couch, and one or both of us can be like, I'm this way and you're this way. And we're about as separated can be. And we can be sitting here on the same couch. Those of you who have had the experience, have you ever been on a job that you were done with it? You're like, I'm done with this job. That you may not tell your higher ups. You may not tell anybody, but you go home at night and you're looking for another job. I've been on jobs where I walk past people's desks and they're looking through wine ads. They're gone. They're gone. They're still in the building. They're still at their desk, but they're gone. Have you ever been on a job that you were gone from, but you were still physically there? Now I want you to think about that. If you've ever been in that situation or a situation like it, think about it for a second. What can they do to you? They can come up to you. They can say stuff to you. They can say, I'm going to write you up for this or that or what. And you're like, okay. And the reason that you're like that is because, dude, I'm gone. I'm out. There's nothing you can do to me. They can even fire you, and you don't care too much because you're already gone. That's what it means to separate. That's what it means to separate in here. And the big secret is that once you separate in here, it's only a matter of time. It could take a week, could take a month, could take a year, could take a decade, could take 2 decades. But if you are separated in here, sooner or later, you're going to figure out how to physically get out of that situation. You're going to figure out how to physically get away from it because you're already gone. I've seen many cases where people were gone way before they ever left. So, yeah, going back to the job scenario, yeah, you still have to clock in. You still have your regular lunch break. You still have your regular breaks. You still are doing your work, but you're gone. And the effects that they have on you aren't as pronounced. They can only, at that point, try to do things to you. Or they may be able to do things to you that annoy you a little bit, but you're not annoyed in the same way that you are if you are still there and planning to stay there. You see what I'm saying? I'm talking to this like I can hear somebody saying something back. I don't hear anybody saying anything back. But dude, look. You have those who are true believers who believe the system can be fixed. Um, this channel does not believe that. This channel is about our people separating. This channel is about our people peacefully thinking our way out of this mess. I started out with this channel talking about reparations. I believe that our people are owed reparations. I believe our people should get reparations. And ironically, as was pointed out by New Possibilities, ironically, it would take, the government to have to make that happen. I'm like this though. As much as we are legitimately owed reparations, as much as this is a debt that is owed to our people and that we should under any circumstance receive. If they don't, if we never get them, I'm still out. That's something I've come to realize, is that there are different things that are used on our people as carrots before us. Carrots under our nose. We're just following. We have to stay. We have to stay involved in the system so that we can get reparations. That's the carrot before our nose. Again, back to the job scenario. Well, if you leave, we're not going to give you a bonus. Okay, I'm still going. Well, if you leave, we're not going to pay you for the last 2 weeks that you worked. Okay, I'm still going. There's nothing you can say or do that's going to make me stay in this mess. Well, if you go, then you're not going to get reparations. I'm still going. I'm still separating. There's nothing that you can say or do that's going to make me not separate. Give them to me, not give them to me. I'm leaving. In here. And then eventually, physically, if that is possible. It's more than a notion to do these things, but it's not impossible to do. It takes a force of will, and it also just takes understanding all the different connections. I talked about the other day how we get connected, by the food that we eat. That we're connected by medications we take. We have all these ways that we're intertwined in the system or woven into the system, and sometimes it's like unraveling knots, and you just have to take the time and do it. It could be a slow process, but if you really want out, then you can just work your way out of it and be away from it and have it to greater or lesser degrees affecting you. Angela and I have the conversation all the time. I don't know if there's truly a way to get 100% away from this system because it's a global system. The system of white supremacy is a global system, and it is a system. And it might not be possible to 100% get away from it, but maybe you can get half away from it. Maybe you can get 80% away from it. Maybe you can get 99% away from it. Just depends on the level of commitment and the steps you're willing to take. And I have to add, non-violently, because when it comes to violence and stuff, that's a whole nother video. I already told you that's their square. Violence and brutality is their square, and I urge our people to stay off that square because, and I know that this is not grammatically correct. But I'm saying it this way on purpose. You can't out brutal them. I'm going to say that again. You cannot out brutal them. And they know it. Because we're not just like naturally like that. But they want us on these violent, brutal squares, and they're constantly trying to do stuff to push us onto it, so that they can unleash their full ferocity and brutality. And it's best we stay off of it and stay away from it. You know, there are ways, and I'm not saying that you should be in positions where you're not prepared to defend yourself. Defending yourself is a different thing than coming at somebody. People should always be ready to defend themselves. Anybody should be ready to defend themselves if someone's attacking them. But it's not our place to jump on their square. Like I said, that ferocity, that ferociousness, that brutality, that's their square, and that's why they want us on it. Don't take the bait. Don't take the bait. We're thinkers. We are intelligent. We're taught that we're not, but we are intelligent, extremely intelligent. We can think our way out of and through anything. And we can think our way out of this and through this. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Buy This Black. Always gonna promote my sister's book. She wrote it for our people, and I'm starting to find out I should have already known this, but I'm starting to find there are a lot of black writers out there who write all kinds of genres of fiction and nonfiction, and we need to support our people in what they write, because it's very important for us to take control of our own narrative. Everybody else controls their own narrative. Everybody does, but us. Everybody else controls our narrative. We need to control our narrative and teach our children, you know, the right and the true things about our people and about our greatness and so on. So, again, Buy This Black. Go to my beloved fiance's channel, Be Fabulous You. She has a lot of good things to say. I'm telling you, very intelligent woman. She is just the best. She is the best. Always go to Psycho's Wake and Bake builds into his shows he does with Renee. I enjoy those. When I was in Costa Rica, those were pretty much the two live streams that I tried not to miss. Was when Sister Anjali was doing a live stream when Psycho was doing live streams. So anyway, I could go on and on. So anyway, that's all for right now. When I come back, I'm going to be showing you some stuff about Costa Rica and giving some suggestions on where to stay. We stayed on the Airbnb of a man named Jeffrey, and it was beyond words. But I'll show you all that in the next video. And that's about it for right now. Maybe not the next video, but because I'm still editing it. But it'll be soon. I'll probably do some before this. So that's about it. I love you, family, and peace and blessings, and I will see you soon.